This next episode of the podcast, I talked to Patrick from the Ben Kinsella Trust. Ben Kinsella Trust is a knife crime charity. So there may be subjects that we talk on in this podcast that you might find upsetting. Hi team, welcome to the Everyone Active podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jo, and my little Mish is still teaching the world everything reformer-wise, Pilates-wise, aqua-wise. So it's just me solo today. So thanks for listening and thanks for watching. However, I have an amazing guest on today with us. Can I please introduce you all to Patrick from the Ben Kinsella Trust? Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for that really warm welcome. It's great to be here.
Oh, it's fabulous. Can you just tell me what your role is? And for those that don't know, what is the Ben Kinsella Trust?
Yeah, my name is Patrick Green. I'm CEO at the Ben Kinsella Trust. The Ben Kinsella Trust was formed in the most tragic of circumstances. It followed the murder of Ben Kinsella, a 16-year-old schoolboy who was murdered on his way home from a night out with friends when he was just 16 in an unprovoked attack. Mm-hmm. His family set up the trust in his name, the mission to do one thing, to try and stop what happened to them happening to another family. And that's at the core of our mission and everything we do. It's so heartbreaking that a family had to experience that, but it's hugely heartwarming of that family to acknowledge that it's not going to stop. And if they can do something to help that, to work with, to make awareness grow for other families that might counter that situation, or indeed the prevention of that, it's just lovely. Are the families still very much in touch with you on a day-to-day basis? The trustees, George, Ben's father, is the chair. Brooke, Ben's sister, who many of you may remember from her time as an actor, appeared in EastEnders, is still a very prominent trustee, as is Ben's mum. So behind the scenes, they're very, very much involved. And just one other sort of key point about why they set the trust up. 3 months before Ben was murdered, and Ben was a schoolboy, achieving well academically, and not caught up in anything related to violence or to knife crime or gangs. He's just a normal boy growing up in North London. But he's aware of violence that's around him. We know that in April of that year, in a piece of creative writing, he wrote to the Prime Minister, challenging the government for what he felt was their inaction to keep young people safe. He was fearful for what he's seeing around him and felt nobody was doing enough to protect young people. In the same month, he wrote his essay for his GCSEs, and he wrote about what it might be like to be stabbed and to die. His parents and sisters only found these 2 pieces of writing after his murder. So you can imagine what they must have felt. And, you know, as Brooke said to me, she was 24 at the time. If my 16-year-old brother was feeling as worried and concerned about knife crime, I, as his adult 24-year-old sister, should be doing more. So parents and Brooke felt that Ben had left a legacy, and that's why they set up the trust, because and what we found even today is that young people are terrified about knife crime. Yeah. Whatever us as adults feel about it, they are absolutely terrified, and their fear is real. And that is, you know, why we exist and why we're still pushing government and others to do more to tackle knife crime.
And so you said he was only 16.
16, yeah.
We can stereotype, I suppose, especially if we go back maybe 10 years, and if we're stereotyping that knife crime is a gang crime or it's a territory crime, but he was just an innocent child, 16-year-old child, walking home, and did he get jumped upon? Was it a big fight? What happened to him?
Yeah, and it's interesting that even in my introduction, I qualified that Ben wasn't involved in knife crime, etc. And I think, you know, I do that because we all have stereotypes in our minds about knife crime. And the more you understand this subject, you suddenly realise this happens to anyone and everybody. There isn't a stereotype in this. And yes, Ben's story is... Ben had just finished school at 16 and had got a summer job. He's very talented young artist, and he got a job as a graphic designer in a local internet cafe. Now,
we have to explain what internet cafes are to young people
completely,
these
we do.
days. But for those of you who are old enough to remember them, that was Ben got his job. So he's very proud he got that job and was doing some graphic design, designing menus for cafes, etc. The Saturday night, he got his mum and dad and his other sisters had gone down to the had a chalet in Kent, and Ben was allowed to stay up over the weekend with Brooke because he was working. And Brooke was rehearsing for a play. So Ben went to work Saturday, came back Saturday evening. Friends rang and said they were going to a local club where there was a DJ playing, and would he come? So Ben said yes. Brooke did the check. He was going with friends, she knew and trusted. He was going to a venue he'd been to before, come back safely from, and he was getting picked up by an adult, a friend, at the end of the evening. Fine, you can go. At the club, there was a fight, not involving Ben or any of his friends, but some older young people. Those involved in the fight were asked to leave or pushed out of the club by the bouncers. At the end of the night, one of the boys involved in that fight came back looking for revenge. The club is closed. Ben and his friends are standing outside waiting for that lift. The boys just run at Ben and his friends, although they had nothing to do with the fight. And along North Road in Islington, there's a little bit of a hill at the end, and Ben stopped running. We'll never know why Ben stopped running. But these three strangers came up to Ben. They'd never spoken to him, didn't know him, stabbed him 11 times in 5 seconds. And that's Ben's story. He did nothing wrong. And there have been hundreds of Bens since Ben's murder. It's not an isolated incident. We hear so many stories about young people mistaken identity, innocent young people that are just targeted for no reason. This Ben story has been repeated and repeated and repeated since his murder.
Absolutely. And that's one of the huge reasons why Everyone Active has taken Ben Kinsella Trust as one of our chosen charities this year, is because it can happen to anyone at any time, or it's someone you know. And the amount of crime, it is a horrific crime that's happening to young people. And when we're saying young people, we're talking under 18s. Is phenomenal. And we think we're in 2025 now, and we should, as we've said, as adults, there should be protection out there. There needs to be awareness out there, but it's becoming more common because of, and we've spoken about this a little bit when we were saying hello earlier, you just talked to me about the effect of social media and what you're seeing from the Trust's point of view in terms of images that are out there, in terms of being a 16-year-old in 2025. Are you seeing different trends happening?
Yeah, I mean, social media has changed all our lives. And if we use 2008 as a starting point, we were probably, those we were familiar with it, were probably using the internet and social media to download music, buy things, etc. The transformation in it with the young people we see today, and most of the young people who come to us are age 10 and 11, is already social media. Social media is almost part. They've internalized as part of their identity. They not only do all the things that we did in 2008. But they're using it for what we would consider everyday activities, making friends. Many of them will have friends online that they've never actually met. As they get older, they will date using social media. Therefore, your profile and who you are on social media is hugely important to you. And therefore, anybody who takes you down, disrespects you on social media, that becomes a big issue. Something that previous generations would not even have considered. Also, in terms of what the content you see on social media and the algorithms that generate that content, social media companies want to keep you online. If it's cat videos, you'll see more cat videos and more cat videos and funnier cat videos, and they will just keep you online. And anybody listening can test this. But if you look at violent content, it will repeat violent content to you. So suddenly your perception of the world changes because you're seeing a world that is far more dangerous. For many of the young people that we see, it normalizes violence. They see it as part of their society. It glamorizes it, and it desensitizes them to violence. All of these, in terms of knife crime, are huge drivers in terms of the decision making that some young people may make to carry a knife, often for protection, often because they don't feel safe. which is heightened by social media. You can see the vicious circle that's just beginning to develop here. And then the advice you're getting via social media is you carry a knife to protect yourself. Without a strong counter-narrative from parents, teachers, from organisations like the Ben Kinsella Trust, you have nothing to counterbalance what you're hearing on social media. And that's why, it's so important.
And there's a huge factor, and I really enjoy speaking to you, just these brief conversations that we're having. I just think back to when I was a child, and I just remember seeing a poster, or it was a policeman coming into school, and it was, if you carry a knife, you're more likely to get into some form of knife trap. Like, it's not a form of defence. It's just, and it was a poster. But the fact that you've said that, like, social media there is now normalising it. It's taking away, it's making it every day. It's making it as normal as a cup of tea or a bottle of water. Carrying a knife is desensitised. And I think that's a huge point to pick up on. Because I know you guys work with primary school children and junior school children. So ages from, what are the ages that you
usually year
with?
sixes, which is sort of 10, 11, and first year of primary school, first, second, so 7, 8, year 7, 8 and 9s. So maybe I'll explain why we predominantly work with that group. We work with all teenagers, but predominantly our footfall is with that group. So if I go right back to the beginning of the charity, we're a new charity. We want to make a difference. We simply don't want to copy what other people are doing, probably do it less well because we're new, and then compete with them for funding. The trustees and the family were absolutely adamant that if we were coming in to do some good, we needed to bring innovation and something that you could collaborate with, something that would really make a difference that hadn't been done before. When we looked at knife crime, and Ben's sister Brooke spent 3 years visiting lots of organisations up and down the country who were doing amazing work to tackle this, to try and find out why isn't there more of these organisations? Where's the support? Where's the money? Where's the government in this? How can a 16-year-old boy just go out with friends and never come home? What's that saying about our society? And what can we do to change that? She spent 3 years researching this, wrote a paper for the Home Office called Tackling Knife Crime Together, raised £12 million for those organisations who were doing that work. And we sat down shortly after that to sort of look at where there might be gaps and where we might be able to add some value. And what we noticed was that most knife carrying happens in sort of mid-teenage years, 15, 16, 17. If you look at stats around knife carrying, they start to rise quite considerably around that age group.
Okay.
Prior to that age group, there is some knife carrying, but it tends to be low in numbers. So our hypothesis was, if we can get in before you made that decision to carry a knife, give you a narrative and experience that helps you counterbalance how you might make that decision, maybe we could make a difference with what you do later on in your life. So having now worked with 40,000 young people.
How many?
40,000.
Wow.
Over that period, I can tell you categorically, and it's been independently verified and tested, that the young people who come to us, that's exactly what happens. We change attitudes, behaviours, and we help you, giving you that narrative and experience to think, when tested later on, you now know the link between that choice and that probable consequence. So that's why we do what we do and why we pick on that and why we work on that age group. Because I'm sure when we said year sixes, some of the listeners will think that's very young to be talking about this subject matter. I can assure anybody who is thinking like that, you'd be amazed at how much young people at that age know or think they know about knife crime.
Yeah. And it's in, like, we've got a 10-year-old and a nearly 13-year-old at home. And I often think she's coming up 10 next week, in fact. Oh. And I just think your world is so much greater than mine was when I was 10, because we do have 24-hour news. Fair enough. We try and nip in. We try and limit time on social medias. But everything that they're talking about at school is a different conversation to conversations that we had. And you're absolutely spot on, like I will say firsthand. There is talk of violence in such a young age, and you tapped on it earlier, that it has become normalised. Can you just talk me through what you do in schools, what are you teaching? How do you break down that barrier? How do you make this a change for those young people?
You've asked me the hardest question. I've been CEO at the Ben Kinsella Trust since 2016, and this is the question that every time I answer, I think I haven't nailed it. Because what we do is a very experiential journey for the young people involved. when we talked to young people way back when we were thinking about what can we do to make a difference, we talked to them about, how do they want to learn about knife crime and what would make a difference to them. Invariably, they said they wanted to learn about knife crime in school with peers, with the friendship groups. Yep. They thought it was really important. However, they didn't want somebody just coming into the classroom, standing at the top of the classroom, telling them what to do and what not to do.
Too much like a teacher. Or a parent.
But somebody who had who couldn't pick up any relevance to their life. It didn't resonate for them.
Yeah.
And when they heard from people who had lived experience, it made a huge difference because they could identify with that. So they wanted something that was relevant to them, had lived experience, and something that they could learn in a group. So we took that away and looked at models that were working away from knife crime, that we thought we might be able to replicate and bring into knife crime. And the idea of an exhibition was born. And we'd seen numerous exhibitions, particularly the most famous one is probably the Anne Frank Museum, which helps people understand not only the story of the Frank family, the impact of the Holocaust, but also hate crime. And what was interesting when we looked at the analysis of how that worked, generally people who go to the Anne Frank Museum, know the story, are connected to the Jewish faith, or are being appalled by the Holocaust. Mm-hmm. But even people who come with that kind of belief system, it teaches you that you have a responsibility to step up when confronted by hate crime. What might seem like small, but things grow, and if you let this grow, yep. What happened to Anna can happen again. And we thought the same logic can be applied to knife crime, about understanding that everybody has a responsibility, not only for you not to carry a knife, but for your friend not to carry a knife.
Yeah.
So we used the stories of people who've been directly affected by knife crime through a series of interconnecting rooms, which you travel through as an exhibition. It is done in an empathic way, so it's not there to scare children, because we know that scaring children can do exactly the opposite of what you want to do.
Absolutely can. Yep.
So there's a lot of thinking and logic behind this about helping you understand through stories. And for many of the young people that come to see the exhibition, they have never connected the decision to carry a knife with pain, suffering, and tragedy that families and those affected by knife crime carry. And when they realise that, it has a profound difference. It's like it's one of those pin drop moments. Suddenly, you can see it in the young people. Suddenly, there's that realization that this is the enormity of that decision. And we use various teaching techniques, including immersive theatre. You walk into a room and suddenly you're part of an immersive theatre piece, to bring you to keep it as an energized experience rather than something that's really heavy. It's a heavy subject, mm-hmm. But to keep this as something energized and something when you leave that you're proactively looking to do something about, rather than think, that was really hard. So that's predominantly what we do, and I say 40,000 young people have visited with 3 exhibitions, 2 in London, 1 in Nottingham. And yeah, we enjoy
that's huge.
3 visits.
And you said it's 10 to 11-year-olds, and we say you can't respawn in real life. And the fact that you are taking them out of that world of social media, out of that world of it will fix it will go away, or I can watch another video. It's physical real life that won't respawn, that won't come back. And it's so important that we can take children back to actually being a child, not behind a screen, not, oh, this looks like fun, or I want to watch a bit more, not 24-hour news. But you're giving it to a child on their level and making it emotive, but not scary.
Yeah.
What is it? A long process for the child? Can they go in as part of a school? How do people learn about this? Do it?
It's usually school groups. So they'll come in with their classmates and they'll travel through the exhibition. It's facilitated all the way through, and they'll travel through the journey with all their classmates. And we see that as a real positive. One, they're not in school, they're not in the normal environment. So if you build an exhibition, you control the assets and what they see and how they see it, and you prepare people for what to expect by the colour of a room, the size of a room. But also the fact that they're with their friends, they're talking to their friends the whole way through. And we see not only one person change, but groups change as a result. And it's not uncommon to see children arguing halfway through about things they said at the very beginning, and then challenging each other on what they said as they go through.
Great that they're debating and they're actually making it physical, real life. Like, this could happen to us. And it could happen to me because of your actions, not just because of my actions, and the fact that you're taking them through, again, with their peers, it's going to make them feel more comfortable than us, mum, dad, step-parents, grandparents, teacher at the front of a room going, this could happen, that could happen. So it's really interactive. What are they seeing? What are they exposed to in terms of, because I guess if you're a parent or a carer looking in, are they going to see harmful images? How does it feel for that child?
So this is an anti-knife crime exhibition, which has no pictures of knives.
Great. Say that again.
It has no pictures of knives.
Perfect.
This is about the stories of real people who've been affected. So, we help them understand that the people involved are in case studies. They're real people. Both mums, dads, sisters, brothers, the people who've been affected. And we also explore what it's like for the offenders as well. So, there's victims and offenders, and the life of the offender too, is changed forever in a negative way. We do it very sensitively. It's all about empathy rather than, shock, as showing, because we know if you show a child a picture of a knife, you can traumatize them, and, you can achieve the exact opposite of what you want to do. And, we've been tweaking it every year as things change, and to ensure, based on the feedback from young people, that it's still relevant, that it's still having that same impact on them. And what we see when children leave, and this is the key point, before the children come to us, and these are children in education, generally the children nobody's worried about because they're all going to school. 1 in 4 think in certain circumstances you carry a knife to protect yourself. 10, 11, 12. We have a report on our website for those who are interested to think you carry a knife to protect yourself. That changes when they leave. Not only do they know you don't carry a knife to protect yourself, they not only pledge never to carry a knife, the vast majority say they will never let a friend carry a knife. And if you start to change group dynamics, you start to make real positive change.
Yeah, absolutely. When we're talking about Everyone Active as a whole, we've got this new philosophy, and it's Everyone Active U+, and we talk about the power of social wellness and peer support, and also the fact that we are living in a world that is anxiogenic. We're always turned on, we're always wired, and how we're looking at that. And it's so important to recognise that, as you've said from the beginning, children are growing up straight in that world. It's part of their internal makeup. So the fact that they've now got somewhere that they can go with their peers, and it's real life. It's not an action film. It's not a game that they can turn on and off.
Yeah.
And it's the experiences. And you tapped on it. The offender. The offender isn't necessarily someone that's gone, I am going to go out and murder someone. It could be the offender that's gone, I'm carrying a knife, I'm going to use it. The offender could also be a child.
Yeah.
Are you seeing a difference since the beginning of the charity to kind of present day on the offender's profile? Is it they've been exposed to something? Is it then don't have the education about that this is an actual human life? How has that changed over the course of the charity's establishment?
It probably hasn't. What we would see is probably changes in terms of young people's thinking around knife crime, and that's, as I say, with social media, it's got more negative. More complex picture when you look at those who offend. What we know about those who offend predominantly is there will be characteristics of having seen violence in the home, domestic violence. There may be some undiagnosed mental health conditions, probably being victimized before, probably being groomed or exploited. There are occasions, and also when it is just a argument that's got out of hand, and maybe none of those factors are involved, and probably that argument being accelerated by social media, etc.
Yeah.
But if you look at at predominantly young people who, particularly teenagers who go on to kill, a lot of those sort of negative factors about deprivation, poverty, etc., and being groomed and exploited are very, very prevalent, and unmet mental health needs. What's really shocking, and everything's shocking about knife crime, but what's really, really shocking and probably evident from murders that have happened over the last 3 weeks. A 14-year-old being murdered in Woolwich in South East London, and a 12-year-old murdered in Birmingham, is that most knife crime murders happen in broad daylight.
Yeah.
They happen between 4 and 8 o'clock in the evening, just after schools finish. The offenders pay little attention to not being caught. They will. It will be carried out. CCTV will be present. The police usually have ample forensic evidence after the attack. These are people who go out to commit murder knowing they probably will get caught. The deterrent of the law does not prevent them from doing that. Usually it's after the murder that they will try and dispose of the evidence. But by that case, there's police will have CCTV. And in most cases, they know the victim. So they will, and most probably are caught and end up in prison, which tells us so much about what we need to do to tackle this issue, and that the law in itself is not providing a deterrent here, and that we have to go further back. There's a great saying from Archbishop Desmond Tutu, which was, there comes a time when you've got to stop pulling people out of the river and go upstream to see why they're falling in. The Ben Kinsella Trust is placed on the banks of that river, trying to stop young people falling in. What we're trying to do much earlier, long before young people have got into trouble, is pick out some dysfunctional thinking in their belief system and change that. And if we can't change that, help schools that we're working with to get help earlier, long before the child has been excluded from school, long before the child has got into trouble with the police.
Yep.
When we look at some of the most horrific cases, you'll see missed opportunities in those case files. There will be chances where you think, if only somebody had met that young people at that point, or the right service had been assigned to them, or they'd stayed with them. It's far easier to tackle this issue upstream on the banks before young people have got into trouble. Get them the right mental health support, get them the right support organisations, than it is when they've fallen in and are being pulled out at the other end.
As a parent, as a carer, as a teacher who may well be listening to this, how do we contact the trust? What's the format that we need to take if we want to take our year sixes through to the exhibition?
Yeah, very simple. Go on the website. You can book workshops directly from our webpage,
which is
benkinsella.org.uk. You need to copy out there. www.benkinsella.org.uk. Everything you need to know for teachers. As I say, we're based in London and Nottingham. If you're not in those areas and can't travel, we have free resources on our website. Lesson plans for Key Stage 2 primary schools, Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4 in secondary schools. Complete lesson plans. We have videos, testimonies from people directly affected with lessons plans built in. There's a wealth of free resources on our website. If you're a parent, keep an eye on our website. We do free online parent training, helping you understand what knife crime is, its changing dynamic, and also what's the difference between normal teenage behaviour and the behaviour of a child that might be exploited or being groomed. Those subtle differences to help parents make those key decisions, and how to intervene, how to have that conversation. Because often you find that the young person knows more than you do on the subject matter. Yeah. So the opportunity to get some background, we do those regularly. They're advertised, and again, they're free to join online.
As we've got this platform, and I think it's quite an important point, could you give maybe 3 awareness points for parents to look out for if they're suspect that their child could potentially be being groomed or are falling under the wrong influences? Is there anything that really springs to mind that a parent can look for?
There are a number of things. Sudden change of friendship groups, becoming more withdrawn, unusual behaviour, whether that's unexplained wealth, possessions, being more secretive, and not coming home at certain times. Sudden changes in a number of factors would be something to keep an eye on. It's of course children, teenagers change all the time. Yeah. It's for parents, it's about picking up a number of quick changes in succession, and use your gut instinct. As a parent,
totally.
Never ignore your gut instinct, because it's usually right on these in these occasions. Yeah, absolutely.
So we've done some fundraising events for you
Amazing.
through the Everyone
Amazing.
Active estate. If people are looking to donate or indeed do fundraisers for you, again, do they just contact you through the website? I guess any type of fundraiser is going to be welcome.
Absolutely. And Everyone Active, you'll all be fit and energetic people. We have lots of 10Ks, challenge events on our website, again, benkinsella.org.uk. Go on there. We've got lots of spaces for those of you who want to do something energetic for us. If you're a baker, if and you want to run cake sales, please do. Again, you can contact us at info@benkinsella.org.uk, and we can help you with that as well. But probably more importantly, what will the money you raise be used for?
That's my next question. You've done it already.
Well, it's probably the most important one. We're a small team, but we pack a big punch. We like to think. The money that we collect goes on the delivery of our workshops. So what we've been able to do in recent years is increase the number of workshops that we're doing, particularly to schools where there's high level of deprivation and high levels of knife crime. They're the schools who historically have found it more difficult to engage in this work because of price walls or paywalls. So using the funding that we raise through, or that you raise through fundraising events, has an enormous difference on the number of young people who experience our workshops and then go on to make better choices. What we've managed already with our work with Everyone Active is that we've had more young people through last year than ever before. So I'm so grateful for that.
Really?
Yeah.
That's incredible. 7,000
young people through the gates last year, which is phenomenal. The challenge is we've got to do the same again this year, if not more. Any help you can get, you can give us. It's hugely appreciated. Yeah.
And I just want to go on one final point as well. We talk about inner city, and absolutely we talk about deprivation, but knife crime is a UK wide.
Yeah, it's another change that's happened over the last decade and a half. Is it's no longer the preserve of big cities. We just assume knife crime is London, Birmingham, Manchester, Liverpool. It has been rising quicker in small provincial towns than the bigger cities more recently. The reason for this is some of you may be familiar with the term county lines, which is the term often used to describe young people exploited by criminals to sell drugs. Those criminals based in the big cities are targeting market towns, small provincial towns outside the big cities, putting young people on trains with drugs, usually in a debt bondage because they've been robbed of drugs previously in a set-up raid. That, where there's drugs, there's knives. And that has been fueling knife crime away from London. And once a knife appears, you'll then get to this, vicious circle that somebody else thinks, I know there's dangerous people out there, so I will carry a knife to protect myself. And you get caught, and then knife crime the figures just shoot up very, very quickly. And if we look at stats, knife crime rises very quickly. It's incredibly difficult to get to come down, and that's why early intervention is so important. Tackle it early.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, can you just say the website for people that are listening?
It's benkinsella.org.uk.
And there are packs on there aimed at schools, if the teachers are going to develop this.
Schools, youth groups, parents. If whatever your relationship is with the child, we will have a pack that you can use to talk to that child about knife crime.
Yeah, and it's a huge thing. You do not respawn in real life. Big point. And can you say where the exhibitions are?
Yeah, we're in Islington in North London, Barking in Dagenham in East London, and Nottingham. We're based at the National Justice Museum in Nottingham.
Amazing. So at Everyone Active, we chose Ben Kinsella Trust for two big reasons. Firstly, we are a movements facility. We have young people coming through on sports courses. We have younger people having sessions in the gym or in the pool. And as we've already said, it is so important to make that message relatable and to make it more aware. But we lost a colleague in Crawley due to a knife crime. Again, daytime. It's just one of those things that we feel if we've got personal attachment to it, our colleagues are going to be backing you even more. So thank you for allowing us to choose you as our charity of choice. For the outlook for 2025, what are the aims of Ben Kinsella Trust? How are we going to be fundraising and helping you? What is that goal for this year?
Well, 2025, it's already been an horrific start. If you've been following the news, as I said, a 14-year-old murdered in London, a 12-year-old murdered in Birmingham by a 14-year-old. It paints a very, very dark picture of where we are. We have a positive outlook on the year. We know that there's a lot that can be done to tackle this issue. We see it on a daily basis. We see young people turn their lives around daily. So we know that violence isn't inevitable. It is preventable. We just need to do more to make sure that it is preventable. In May, we're launching our Knife Crime Awareness Week, 19th of May, for a week. It's a week which is the awareness we're raising is not necessarily about how bad knife crime is. We all know that.
Yes.
The awareness we're raising is what you can do to stop it. And the small things or the big things that you can do as an individual with the young people you know to make a difference. Over that week, we'll be working with lots of other knife crime charities across the country, a national view on making a difference and getting everybody involved. It will be fantastic to have the support of everyone active over that week. I know we'll have you for the other 51 weeks as well, but a special effort on that week, because I think it's a huge piece of communications to get out to the country about this, that people will feel helpless, or there might be some apathy towards knife crime because it just feels never ending.
Absolutely. And there's also that, it's never going to happen to my child.
Yeah.
It is, and the statistics are saying it is.
And I hope it never happens to anybody's child, and that's what we're working hard to make sure. But help, I think, over that week and helping get positive messages out, not only to everyone across the country, but to politicians, to decision makers, to leaders. We need more and more focus on early intervention. We need to do far more much earlier with young people and recognise, as Ben said back in 2008, that they don't feel government and adults are doing enough to protect them. Let's show them that we are, and let's use that week to really get that out and demonstrate it.
Absolutely. Can you just say again when that month is? It's May?
It's May, and it'll be week starting the 19th. And if you're a primary school teacher, you'll know that's the week after SAT tests. So yes, this is something we'll have lessons that you can use. But that's the week we're using to highlight what we can all do to make a difference.
Amazing. And again, if schools are already planning that, they're probably planning, they can be in touch with you guys. You've already got lesson plans ready.
And we will be running our big comms plan on this on social media as well.
Amazing. Patrick, thank you so much for joining us.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you. And thank you to everyone Active for all you're doing for us. It's been fantastic for us. We can feel the love and see the money coming in, which is great. So thank you.
Yeah, massive shout out to our colleagues, but especially our members. It's you guys that are driving this. It's you guys that are taking part in the fundraising events. It's you guys that are actually working with your families and working with other facilities and doing the awareness and doing the challenges and doing the fundraising events. So thank you. And honestly, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the podcast with us.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Team, as you would have heard just the importance of the messages that we are putting out, if there's one podcast that you are going to share, please make it this one. Please get the messages out there that intervention at a younger age will be aiding this. So team, any questions for indeed Patrick or fundraising that's coming up or anything that we're doing from Everyone Active in terms of fundraising, please email us at podcast@everyoneactive.com. Our lovely tech geniuses have popped in a donation link literally wherever you are viewing this podcast. So do it, make that donation. And as we know, all the money gets used for this absolutely important, literally life-saving reason. Team, review us, share us, spread the word. 5-star reviews are always welcome. And we look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care, team. Bye.